I'm Rich Matalino. I'm honored to be the Chief Administrative Officer for the Montgomery County government. I'm going to be your MC today. As we celebrate Montgomery County hitting the $15 per hour minimum wage. You are going to hear from a lot of amazing elected officials today. So we've got our County Executive Marc Elrich, our Council President and District 5 Representative Tom Pucker, Tom right there. We've got Council Vice President, at-large member Dave Alberto. We've got Council members Evan Glass, Will Jawando, Nancy Navarro, and Craig Rice. We're going to hear from Delegate Al Carr, Delegate Emily Shetty, Delegate Jared Solomon, Delegate Janelle Wilkins, and we're also going to hear from our Director of the Office of Human Rights for the County, James Stowe, and then I have a second list of people to introduce once we get to that point. I want to recognize everyone from the Recreation Department who might be in the room, and for everyone in this building. Our Recreation Department has done an amazing job during this pandemic. People may not realize that we couldn't have had an election this past year without the people from the Recreation Department stepping up and helping with validating ballots, counting ballots. This building has served as a test site, as a vaccination site, and it's one of the reasons, because we have this amazing network of recreation centers, that we have the best vaccination rates in the country. A special thank you to all the employees of the Department of Recreation, and make sure all of your colleagues know how greatly we appreciate all of your efforts. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our County Executive, Marc Elrich. He was, if people don't realize this, as a member of the County Council, he was the leader on the fight for 15. I remember, some of you know, I was in the legislature. I remember standing up and many of you were there as we stood on the steps of the county office building, the council office building, to say we're going to pass the $15 minimum wage. We're going to defend it in Annapolis. And people said we were crazy. And now look at this movement in the county, in the state, in the country. It's no longer radical. It's no longer fringe. It's mainstream, because we made it happen in Montgomery County due to the amazing elected officials who have up here in our County Executive, Marc Elrich.
I have many fond memories of this fight. I'll just say a couple. One was meeting with the chambers. He said in the first 2 rounds, basically, and the chamber said it's a terrible thing you could do this by yourself. You'll all be alone in the side. That. And so I called the county executive, the council members of the county, and I told DC government, let's do this together. And then I was able to tell the chamber ourselves. I remember being in Annapolis for a rally for minimum wage, and O'Malley was speaking. There was a group from Montgomery County, and every time he would say, I think his number was 11. He would say 11, and we'd shout out 15, because it really mattered. It was good to stand there and say that, because, you know, it's nice to think you're doing the good thing, but you actually have to do the good thing. $15 was the right wage. It's still not living wage. You know, I was checking the latest living wage calculator. If you're a couple or both of you, the basic wage has to be $20.45. If both of you work at one, it goes up to, if you're a single adult with one child, $43 an hour. That reflects the staggering cost of living in this town, and not much different than the rest of the region. So, you know, we have work to do. This minimum wage is not, it's not the end of the road. It's just partway down the road. And at some point, we will be talking about how to get the wage in this county and in this country to the point that it's a living. Nobody should go to work and not be able to put a roof over their heads, not be able to nobody should be making choices between medicine and food and rent. That's insane. And we can get there. You know, it's actually good for the business community. None of the terrible things, you know, that we're going to have to do. none of that happened. And what does happen is that everybody who makes a higher wage spends all the higher wage is so low that the only thing you're going to do is spend that money at the community. You're not, buying, art, not buying luxury vehicles, no wage. You're basically taking the money and buying back. Yeah. So the value of the minimum wage is not just good, it's actually it's good for the small business. When they say, we're raising, you're raising the wage, if everybody has to raise the wage, the playing field stays level. Adjust your prices. I'd rather pay more for a hamburger than know that they might not pay for that hamburger because somebody else can't stay rent. And I think a lot of decent people, given that kind of explanation, understand what it is we did. So I'm really happy to be here to celebrate. Today, workers and employers over 51 people get $15 an hour. Another group gets 14. Higher than the third group. I regret the scaling, but it's what it took to get the votes on the council. And sometimes that's how sausage gets made. And sausage generally tastes good. But I dearly wish we'd been able to push a little bit farther, a little bit back. At DC at 15 a year before we did. But we're there now, and we're going to continue to do our work, and hopefully we will be talking about where we go next. So I'm very happy to be celebrating this today. It is a great anniversary, and it's something really I think everybody on the council who supported that should be proud of. And I think all the community groups, this doesn't happen without you. I mean, this is true. This didn't start out as a grassroots movement. We know that in Montgomery County. It started by myself and some others saying we should do this. But what it took to get it through was the community. Without your support, your shoe leather, showing up at demonstrations, talking to council members, bringing over the reluctant ones, all that work was critically important. And I will say, I don't think Sidney's here today, but he was the one that made the deal. And nobody should be confused about that. Roger held out, Sidney came over. Sidney was the one that said I could get there. And it was hard for him to do. It's not, it's not what he started, but I think he deserves some credit because we'd still be talking about it. So I do think it's worth noting. I am going to continue to work on this. This is, I do hope that we have a discussion about where we go next. I think all of us know this is not the end of the road. Just the statistic. We all have. I've said this before to people. Once you know something, you can't not know it. You have to own it when you know it. And if you know that a couple would have to make $20 an hour, and we're talking about what a great thing this is, we have to remember it's really good compared to the rest of the country. It's probably great compared to what people need, not quite there. And we've got to think about it. Winning a $15 fight 4 years ago, when 15 was closer to the wage that people needed, I think it was 17 4 years ago was the living wage. That has changed. So just as that's changed, we need to change. This thing will go up by the unemployment index, by the inflation index. That's something that we had not had before. So this will not at least lose its value. And that's a good thing. The groups that are lower than $15 today, they have an extra 1% added every year until they catch up, so that at some point everybody is on the same wage scale. So that's the intention of what we're going to do, and we're going to carry that out. But like I said, we should be talking about where we go next. Maybe in this pandemic, in this recovery, maybe not be the moment to have that discussion externally, but it's something for us to think about. Because the truth is, in all this, look at anything that's happened in the real estate market lately, people are going to continue to struggle unless we're willing to go further and help make their struggles less. And this, the big believer in child care and all these other social programs that we do, but wages are the core. The wages are what enable a person to pay for child care, to do the things, to not have to work 2 jobs endlessly, each adult in a family, and not be there for their children when they want to be there for their children. So what we do with wages is critical to how our society continues to move. And I just think we thinking about that. And when the time comes, we need to be able to take action on that. But thank you all for joining today, joining everybody up here. You know, the last council that passed this, we did a lot of work. The last thing I'll say was I thought the study that was done by the county executive was the greatest gift of all, because that study lasted about a day. And we were able to shoot so many holes in that study that their argument against what we were doing just fell apart. And, you know, that's just make mistakes like that. But they did, and I'm really glad they did. It took away the last final arguments, trying to hold us back. We got where we needed to go. Thank you all, all my colleagues, and thank you, staff, thank you, folks of the Annapolis, to continue this fight. And I guess I'm turning this over to Mitch. Thank you.
Thank you, County Executive Elrich. Just in case anyone was unclear when he referenced Sydney, he was talking about Council Member Sydney Katz. So I just want to make sure that everyone, just in case there was anyone who doesn't know Sydney. We're going to hear now from our Council President, Representative Tom Hucker. People may not know Tom has been an advocate for higher wages for a very long time before he was an elected official. We were in Annapolis fighting for 1010. That's what Martin O'Malley was talking about, 1010. So we've gone from 725, 1010, now to 50. Councilmember Hunter.
I'm growing old to talk about the topic. That's my message. It's an honor to be here today with all celebrate this really important milestone. Milestones like this always sort of make me a little nostalgic. It's great to see so many old friends because I spent every day from 1998 with Gustavo and folks from McGeo and 500 and 32 BJ and laborers fighting to start passing a living wage law in Montgomery County to create a living wage for everybody that works directly on a county contract because it was politically impossible to raise the minimum wage in Montgomery County at that time. And we were knocked off of the ballot by a lawsuit. We brought it to the council. They lost. They voted it down by 1 vote, and we kept fighting for 3 more years and eventually passed that in 2001 to establish the principle that everybody who works full time ought to be able to feed their family without being dependent on the government. And we've continued to fight for that now for 20 years. It's really amazing that some of us have been doing this for a long time. So, Mark, thank you so much for your leadership putting this bill in. I was proud to be a co-sponsor, co-conspirator on this bill, and then when it got stuck, happy to sponsor the amendment that we moved it from 5 to 4 to 9 to nothing. I think we were all surprised on that day when the yeses just kept coming down the dais. It's coming at a pivotal moment for workers when they really need a boost, right? The cost of living in Montgomery County is among the highest in the entire nation. We know we have a housing crisis, we have a child care crisis. Those costs keep going up and up because the supply, the demand outweighs the supply so severely. We should talk about who is going to benefit from this and not forget about them. These are the workers that just got us through a pandemic. The essential workers that were caring for our children and keeping them safe during a pandemic, that were cleaning our buildings and keeping them particularly clean to keep all of us safe, that were bagging our groceries in our grocery stores to keep the economy moving and providing critical healthcare services, well, right? In our hospitals, in our nursing homes, in our clinics, to get us all vaccines, to get us all tests at first, and then later get us all vaccines. And they were putting themselves on the front lines long before there was a vaccine, when there wasn't even a PPE to keep them all safe. And we were all fighting for those supplies. But when a bunch of us, most of us had to the privilege of going to work on Zoom every morning, they were on their front lines, putting themselves at risk to keep the economy rolling, to keep all of us safe. And those are the folks who are going to benefit today, and we should be celebrating them. Countless studies show that this is the right thing to do, not just for the workers, but because it's the right thing for the economy, because the minimum wage raises the standard of living for our poorest residents, and that or by raising their wages. It doesn't go parking tax dollars. It doesn't go diapers, on groceries, on rent, and
catching up on credit card bills. That's where it's going right back into the local. It's getting recycled over and over. For giving our economy food. So I really want to thank you and put this down to such a big election of support. We got all of you that are doing the process, USA, Maryland, Working Family Party, PBJ, Labor Against PBJ, 500, 400, and so many others that showed up in front of the council with signs, talked to council members over and over and over, and sent us phone calls, emails to build the majority that we really needed to get this done. It wasn't easy, you all remember that, but as Marc said, we got to keep fighting because we're not everywhere we need to be to get all of our workers a living wage.
Thank you so much for everything you've done, and I'll turn it back to Rich.
And we're going to hear from our council vice president and at-large member of the council, Lee Albers.
Buenos dias. It is truly remarkable and important for us to be here this afternoon. This feels like one of those issues, one of those events where, as I look out at the dynamic and incredible leaders in the audience, that we should have one extraordinarily long line behind us here, because the coalition that was built, that fought for this day, was truly extraordinary and to some degree unprecedented. And so I want to thank and acknowledge the sacrifices and work and leadership of so many, and thank our county executive for leading the way, along with his colleagues on the council, to ensure that we provide dignity to our residents here in Montgomery County. There is a dignity that comes with receiving a wage that covers the basics, that covers food, that covers rent,
that covers the ability to have just a little bit of disposable income so that your child can join sports league. We know that $15 is the floor, and it's not sufficient. We know there are too many people making $15 that still have to have a second job in order to make ends meet. And let us not forget what has transpired this last year and a half. Lines over a mile long just to get food. Over 230,000 county residents filing for unemployment. Our community is hurting right now. Deeply, deeply hurting. And that's why today is so important. Because as our council president said, today lifts up our community at a time when they especially need it. But we know there's a lot more that's going to need. We're going to need to continue to support the rental assistance. We're going to need to fight back against the evictions that we know are on the horizon and are coming. We know that we need to do more to ensure workforce development and adequate housing for all of our county residents. Today is an important milestone. Today is an important step forward, but it's not the end. So I want to once again acknowledge and thank the leaders that made today possible. Y quiero agradecer a todos los líderes en la comunidad que trabajaron tan duro para que nosotros estamos aquí hoy día. Hay una dignidad en conseguir un sueldo para poder cobrar lo básico. Hay mucho que tenemos que hacer, pero este día es importante, no solo para las familias que van a recibir el sueldo un poquito más alto, pero para la economía y la comunidad entera. Así que le quiero dar gracias a todos los líderes que son la razón que estamos aquí hoy. Thank you all so much.
And to reiterate what Councilmember Alvernon said about rental assistance, we've got $50 million in a pool right now. We're accepting applications. We'll have more. We're going to pump in more than $100 million in direct assistance, things like refundable earned tax credit. So the county is stepping up, providing a lot of support. A lot of that has been due to the leadership of the executive and the council. We're going to call up Councilmember Nancy Navarro. We're sitting in a building that she helped champion. The community wanted it, she demanded it, and we have a new rec center and library.
Okay. Well, wow, this is so awesome. It always fills me up with great emotion. emotion that walked into this building, because I think this building embodies the extraordinary dedication of not just the leadership of this county, but its residents, community leaders, moms, immigrant moms that had never participated in a civic process came together to fight for this building. So I feel like this building is in many ways symbolic of this day. It was my first presidency in 2013. And as Executive Elrich said, there was that strategy of making sure that this would be a regional approach. But when we were down to the wire, Prince George's County was like, you guys are gonna have to go first. And DC was like, we're not sure you guys have the votes. You guys are gonna have to go first, right? And so here we were on the dais, and I'm literally texting saying, no, you don't understand. We got the votes. We're good. We're good. We're good. And they're like, if you guys don't do it, we're not. And we caught us very quickly on the dais. It was just one of those sausage making moments. And we said, fine, we're going to take the vote. And there it was. And the next day, the service county took their vote. And then it became this regional thing. And I only say that because there is no doubt that we understood that that particular moment was setting the stage for this next iteration, which was to get to 2050. Understanding as if it was so well presented here that at that time it was, very steep hill to climb. But we knew, we understood. I mean, many of us who come from communities where you see it every single day, we knew we were being behind, especially in a county like this one. And it has also been described by some of my colleagues, 2020 came to teach us a very strong lesson. I worry every night that we don't really have a clear sense of the need that has been exacerbated in so many of our communities. But the good news, as far as I'm concerned, is that this is a county that is always forward thinking. And so just as we stood up and said, we will lead in this space, and we had to compromise and we had to be patient, that was the same way that we took a step forward and said, yes, we're going to pass comprehensive racial equity and social justice law. Yes, we're going to pass this extraordinary early care and education initiative. And the executive said, yes, we're going to invest in this. This is real. This is not just a plan. Yes, yes, yes. And when 2020 came and hit us, it was affirming to at least be able to say, we've got this capacity out there already. We're not scrambling to build it. And so, as I become nostalgic in my farewell tour for this next year and a half regarding my service on the county council, I just have to say that I am so grateful to everyone sitting here, everyone sitting over there, all the people that are not here, for always thinking about what is in the best interest of our community as a whole, not just those who are doing kind of well, everybody. And I will close by saying that as we talk about, prosperity for all, we also are going to have to recommit ourselves to ensuring that we do whatever we can to position the county as a place that will attract jobs, good paying jobs, especially for areas of the county such as the Mid-County, East County, because it's not just about a dignified wage, it's also about bringing awesome jobs where people can have access to those opportunities and lifting up everybody's dreams. And so this is about all of the above, but today is about celebrating this important milestone and being able to demonstrate that a jurisdiction like ours has proven that although there were so many studies and so many conflicting things out there, that we're okay and that we will continue to stand up for each other and help each other lift up all the voices and take care of everyone. And so thank you so much. And again, every time you walk into this building, I hope that you will feel the same thing I feel when I see this community enjoying a state-of-the-art place as they deserve to enjoy, and that should be the motto and the ethos. Thank you, everybody. Solo para decir, para ofrecer mi agradecimiento total a todos los activistas, a todas las personas que pelearon por este momento, a todos los líderes. En el 2013, durante mi presidencia, fue el momento que tomamos ese voto tan importante en colaboración con el condado de Prince George's y la ciudad de Washington, D.C., aunque nosotros tuvimos primero que hacerlo porque ellos no estaban muy seguros. pero fue un momento muy importante, un momento que ahora celebramos, pero que no podemos sentar y descansar porque sabemos que hay mucha necesidad, sobre todo a raíz de esta pandemia. Sin embargo, yo puedo testificar y dar testimonio de que este es un condado que siempre está adelantado, sabiendo que tenemos que responder. Y así que hoy celebramos, pero más importante que la celebración de hoy es entender que tenemos que crear más trabajos dignos, que tenemos que atraer más compañías, tenemos que abrir el acceso, sobre todo a nuestras comunidades inmigrantes, nuestras comunidades de color, que se han quedado atrás en muchos aspectos. Así que hoy celebramos, seguimos trabajando. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Navarro. Now, Councilmember Frank Rice, before President Council was part of the effort in the State House to move us forward on a variety of issues around fairness. So, Member Rice.
Thank you very much to you, Rich, and thank you to the county executive, as well as thank you to all the leaders that are here today. This wasn't easy. And so while we're celebrating and talking about great accomplishments we've had, there were a lot of discussions about what was going to happen in our community if we were to raise the minimum wage. One of the things that I continued to bring up was about our unemployment, the challenges that we had with youth employment, as well as those who are primarily socioeconomically disadvantaged, and what would happen for them. And lo and behold, we see the same thing that's happening right now with this COVID pandemic. But the reality is this: the things that we put in place as a part of this bill's passage have actually helped us in that respect. We've seen our unemployment numbers decline. We've seen great organizations like Workforce Montgomery continue to do incredible work in getting people employed, especially when it comes to our reentering citizens who are coming from being incarcerated. That's important because a lot of times when we talk about the minimum wage, we forget about those who aren't in our workforce, those who aren't employed, who aren't being able to benefit by having this raised wage. But because of my colleagues' support, and I really want to thank each and every one of them for understanding how important this was to me, because of organizations like Conservation Corps and Coding Corps that are out there each and every day doing the hard work to make sure that our children that are sometimes disconnected from schools get their GEDs and also have a pathway to get jobs and be gainfully employed, that also is so important. So we're doing it all. And that's the most important thing that I want to share with folks today. The $15 minimum wage is certainly at the forefront. But the reality is that there's so much more that's out there that's also going on in this county. Great work of folks like ASA that continue to reach out and make sure that our immigrant community is connected with jobs and lifted up. To make sure that those that are advocating in our unions are making sure that there are additional job opportunities that are provided to folks in their pathways. You know, working with SEIU 500 and understanding that we have a pathway now for folks to go from being building supervisor or superintendent to going and teaching in the classroom. Those are the kinds of things that, again, continue to lift folks up and provide opportunities for everyone. It is a collective strategy that we have accomplished here in Montgomery County to make sure that no one is left behind and that all votes are lifted. So I just really want to thank everyone for again coming together because in recognizing all the voices that are out there in terms of how we can make this a better place for our Montgomery County residents. And we've accomplished that. I hope that folks that are looking and watching this, as Councilmember Wando says, for the millions that are watching at home, understand that what we've accomplished here is remarkable. There are not a lot of jurisdictions across the United States that have done what we've done and who led the effort. And so the applause should go to each and every one of you for everything that you've done, for rolling up your sleeves, for fighting each and every day to make sure that we did our job, which was holding true to our promise, making sure that Montgomery County is one of the best places to live, work, and play. So thank you guys very much, and congratulations to all.
So we're going to hear next from Councilmember Will Tawando.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here. This is an awesome day. I wish I was on the council today. I think I'll be on the council today. Something in the future, because if you think about what the minimum wage is and when it was passed in post-depression era, it was to create a minimum standard, right? Minimum standard so that you could have what you need to eat, live somewhere, be safe. And we recognize, all of us up here, county executive mentioned this, that this falls short of that minimum standard, right? And it's important to just verbalize that. However, it is higher than anywhere else. Obviously, the federal government 725 embarrassment since 2009. I often think about the fact that when I was 18 years old, I worked at a home store. I worked at a big box retail store, and I made $10 an hour in 21 years, right? So, and I thought about it then. The minimum wage would be less than 725 at that time. You think about, it's a conscious choice to pay someone that. The economy doesn't require it. It's profit motivation. It's what you think about those workers. You think about who makes them. You know, my brother here from Giant, and it was mentioned, the healthcare, you know, we got a whole range of workers that make that. Who are those folks? They're disproportionately women. They're disproportionately women of color. They're disproportionately Black and brown residents who are doing jobs. And if you think about what that is connected to, that's one of the reasons I'm so honored that I made it on the council to serve with Nancy Navarro and pass one of our first votes, the racial equity social justice bill. That's a history of paying people of color, women, the lowest wage. Look at the history of paying low, insufficient wages. It's connected directly to chattel slavery, when you pay people nothing, to sharecropping, when you pay people next to nothing or nothing. That's what this means when we allow corporations to use the same arguments that we can't pay people enough to live. Then you shouldn't be in business. And it's just not true. And what we've shown, and what the previous council has shown, is when you raise the bar, people adjust, and it helps raise the bar in other places. And so Montgomery County has been, it's one of the honors of my life. We are the tip of the spear in the state of Maryland and the region. And that's why we must continue to push towards that minimum basic standard. And so I pledge to you, along with my colleagues, I think you're hearing today, that we are going to take those steps to make sure that this is one step that we're commemorating, but it's the next step, the next step, the next step, because it's unacceptable to live in your not be able to sustain yourself and your family. And so we commit that to you. We celebrate today, but we also put everyone on notice that we're going to keep pushing to make sure that you have that high quality life. So it's an honor to be with you today, and we're really excited that we're taking this step forward. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a really good day for Montgomery County, and I also want to extend my thanks and appreciation to the county executive for his leadership here, and to my colleagues who are serving on the council, and to those who came before me on the council. And while I was not on the council during those very pivotal votes, I stood outside the council with many of our friends, organizations, and activists to make sure that the council did the right thing back in 2013, standing in that cold spring morning next to my friend Jonathan Sherberg, may his memory be a blessing, to make sure that we led here in Montgomery County. Today we're celebrating the leadership that came before me here in council in Rockville. And this is such an important issue for so many people, especially those who are struggling between paying for food, paying their utilities, paying their rent, deciding whether or not they have to work that second job. And those were conversations that happened around my dinner table with my mother, who worked 2 jobs. And while she did not make the minimum wage, these kitchen table conversations affect all of us, whether they are our neighbors, our family, our friends. And the leadership that we continue to exert here to making sure that we have better workplace rules and laws will continue. And as has been said, and I'll say it again, this step that has been taken is one on a very long journey that we are all traveling together. And I was honored and proud that my very first piece of legislation on the council, the Montgomery County Pay Equity Act, recognizing that women and people of color were systematically making less money. And that goes way beyond the minimum wage here. And so we still have work to do. I commit myself to doing that work with my colleagues, with all of you, and we need to get it done to create a more fair and equitable society and Montgomery County for everyone. So thank you very much.
You know, you heard a lot of comments about Montgomery County leading the state, and it's true. We're going to hear from a group of state legislators now, but often the back and forth, the state and the county, it's when the county moved forward with $15 minimum wage. Part of what we were trying to do in Annapolis is fight to stop the state from overriding the local law. It's hard to remember that I think there were several legislative leaders who said, no way, we're going to stop it in Annapolis. And we succeeded in keeping those forces from preventing Montgomery from stepping forward. And now moving forward with a $50 minimum wage. So we are in District 18. We're going to bring up the District 18 delegation. I'm Delegate Alcar, Delegate Emily Shetty, Delegate Jared Solomon, and Delegate Janelle Wilkins, who represents neighboring District 20 for them to talk. You know, when we were playing defense in Annapolis, that included former Delegate Marisay Morales, but now playing offense, these are the people that help deliver the $15 minimum wage statewide, help deliver the expanded earned income tax credit, standing it for all workers in the state. And much kudos to the executive and the council for proposing and then funding that matching expansion in Montgomery County. We're the only community that does this in the state. So another way where we are the tip of the spear. That's another one. So now Delegate Alcar.
Thank you, Rich. It is so exciting to be here on this milestone occasion. And I've been proud to work with so many of my colleagues. In the General Assembly, we had Councilmember Hucker, then Delegate Hucker, and also Councilmember Rice. So this fight has been going on for a very long time. And I really want to appreciate our county executive for his leadership, our members of the county council, because it's truly been a partnership between the county and the state. And with your leadership and your regional approach, that has really helped us at the state level to defend a wage increase of our own and defend off some of these attempts at preemption and other bad things that didn't want to happen. So this is many years in the making, but a very happy occasion, and it's right on time in 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. It's such an honor to join advocates from around the county for this incredible occasion. I want to thank our council for the incredible leadership they've had under the leadership of our county executive. One of the proudest votes that I've taken in Annapolis thus far in my 3 years in the office has been to raise across to $50. And the reason that I'm so proud to have been able to take that vote, because Montgomery led the way to doing that, is because this fight was very personal to me always. When I was growing up, my parents who had immigrated here had divorced. My dad left. He took all of our money. He left us with a $2,000 debt. And my mom, who was forced to raise 2 young children on her own, she worked 3 minimum wage jobs while going back to school so that she could make ends meet for our family. So when we talk about families who have to choose between food or housing or basic life expenses, that was my family. There was one summer where our water heater broke, and thankfully it was summertime. But we were actually using empty jugs of milk, and we would put water from the sink and take it outside, and we would move it with the sun so that it would warm by the end of the day, and we could take it back. We finally, by the end of the summer, scraped enough money together to replace that water heater. But it took 3 minimum wage jobs and my mom working overnight shifts at a factory to be able to afford that. And that is not how families in this country should be forced to live. So just a month and a half ago, I went to visit my mom. And ironically, while I was there, that same water heater that she replaced again. And so it was kind of reminding me of so many of these visceral memories I have from that summer. But I was really proud to have been able to just pay the bill to get it replaced for her now as an adult with an income of my own and to be able to support her. But again, it's just not right that we have families across the country with these choices daily. So I'm so honored to have had the opportunity to vote for an increase in the minimum wage, so no family in the state has to suffer that way. So thank you so much for our county council for the leadership, and thank you to my colleagues in the General Assembly for making this possible. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Delegate Jared Solomon, and it's really also an honor to be up here with my colleagues from Annapolis, my colleagues from Rockville, friends, and some of those incredible advocates that I've had the pleasure to work with, both as an advocate and now as an elected official. I think the quote that always comes to my mind when I think about these issues, work on them, is from Lake Paul Wellstone. We all do better. We all do better. And that's really, if this past year and a half has not shown us that, I don't know what. Right? We are only as strong as our weakest link. And for those folks who could not sit behind their screen on Zoom, who were making sure that our trains and our buses ran on time, that our grocery stores were stocked, that our doctors' offices and hospitals had the staff and the resources they needed to go forward, that our kids were still being taken care of. If we can't stand up and make sure that every one of those individuals has a fair wage and can support their families and the dignity, that word has been used a lot, then I don't know what we've learned from this last year and a half. I started my career as a high school teacher in Baltimore, and I think about the stories that I heard from my students and the families that I work with, kids who had to drop out from school because their parents were working multiple jobs and they had to take care of their younger siblings, or they couldn't make it to a parent-teacher conference because they were working multiple jobs. And it's little things like that. And when you think about the wage and the EITC vote this year, which is, I think, second probably only to the minimum wage, it's one of the most impactful things that I've worked on in Annapolis. That's really what it means. That's really who it's helping. And as we've heard from so many other folks, this is the start. It's great to represent Montgomery County because we are the leaders in Annapolis, whether it's on increasing the wage or on paid sick leave and paid family leave. It's a lot easier when we go to Annapolis to say our county's already doing this, it's working, it's helping people. But this is a start. We need to increase the wage even further. We need to make sure we have equitable and affordable, high quality childcare. We have equitable and high quality transit. We have access to healthcare. All of those things go hand in hand with raising the wage. So thank you all for being here. Looking forward to continuing the fight going forward in Annapolis. And again, thank you to everybody's leadership to make this happen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Janelle Wilkins, a delegate representing District 20, which is the Silver Springs Park White Oak area. And it is just a proud day to be from Montgomery County. Seriously cannot be said enough that Montgomery County has led the way. And it's not easy being first. It's not easy being the first in the region, being the first in the state, when you are stepping out to do something that you're not really seeing being done. But it was the people that demanded it. Our workers who demanded it, our families who demanded it, and Montgomery stepped up and did the right thing for Montgomery County residents. And that's what makes it a proud day today. We've done this not only on minimum wage, the $15 that we're celebrating today. We have done this on earned sick. I believe we've done this on ban the box legislation. We've done this on the Crown Act, council members of Montgomery. And so Montgomery County must continue the tradition, and the impactful action that it has taken when it comes to racial justice, income inequality, and ensuring that our families are able to succeed. I want to thank our county council members. I want to thank our labor leaders who came together. I remember being a young Dem, fresh and green, just starting to get involved in the county politics, and this was our top priority. And now here we are. It's an amazing, amazing feeling. But I do want to close by saying that when we say that it's just the start, we need to work together to put the policies behind that. Because when I look at my inbox right now as a state delegate, people are crying out for help with unemployment, with evictions, still dealing with the impact of COVID-19, wanting jobs, good jobs. And we told ourselves that we would not go back to the pre-COVID times. We would not go back to the low expectations and the actions that we would take that would leave our workers behind. So we need to fulfill that promise and ensure that there are policies in place and that we're working together for families to really thrive in our county. So thank you again. Today we celebrate and tomorrow we continue the fight.
Thank you. Always important to remind people, we have $50 million in eviction assistance. We have 7,000 applicants. www.montgomerycountymd.gov. You can apply. You can apply. So millions who are watching. I feel we're leading in TV ratings for media. So, but speaking about us leading the nation, I want to make sure everyone knows. Senator Ben Cardin, Senator Chris Van Hollen, Representative James Raskin, Representative John Sarbanes, Representative David Trone. That some of them have representatives here. They are voting today because otherwise the program wouldn't be here. They are helping lead the nation on this fight. They're all sponsors and leaders in the $15 minimum wage fight. I was reminded by one of the delegates that we're talking, and it's like, oh, if we do $15 in Maryland, we'll be uncompetitive with Virginia. Well, who knew we put the script? They were uncompetitive with us, and now, right, Virginia, no one said, and we would ever get the $15 in Virginia, but thanks to many of you in this room, CASA in action, flipping the state of Virginia. Now, they were worried they were uncompetitive with us, but now they're going to $50. Now we're going to hear from some of the people who actually made it happen, some of the people who are working every day to bring about other positive change throughout our county and community and region. But first, we're going to start with I'm sorry, we've got to have James Stowe, who is our director of the Office of Human Rights. James is responsible for enforcing this law in Montgomery County. So now we're going to hear from Mr. Stowe about our efforts to do that.
Thank you, Rich. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me first of all say that you've done the heavy lifting and advocacy. So again, thank you so much for all of that work. The folks behind me have done all the work legislatively to get it done. Now it becomes our responsibility, the Office of Human Rights, to do a heavy lifting as far as enforcement is concerned. And so we're pledging to you this afternoon to do just that. To begin the process of ensuring that persons have access to us. We found back in our building, located in the Rockville Memorial Library in Rockville, 21 Maryland Avenue. Persons can certainly come in and share those concerns with us directly. They will go online as well to file complaints, as well to bring those by way of letter and other kinds of inquiry that may be made on their behalf. And so to all of you who represent persons, please let them know that's where we are. We're open for business and available to this consultation. You're aware of, as the county executive explained, pretty much the idea of how this whole thing came together, better how we want to enforce it. Those employees who were 51 and above already in that $15 range. Those that are at that next level, 15 down to 11, won't get there until 2023. Those who are at that final level of 10 employees or fewer will get there in 2024. Right, so we've got some work to do to try to get everybody to the same place. But once that occurs, we'll all be marching the same step for every employer in Montgomery County. And so our task then becomes then to receive those complaints. Our first obligation is to get compliance. That's the number one thing. Get people whole immediately. That's our objective. And so we'll be working with employers and employees in that regard. But at the end of the day, what matters is what our employees take home with that paycheck at the end of the day. And so we're hoping then to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to participate in making it right. And so the first step is, said before, is compliance. If it does not work, we have a process by which we investigate, go further with that in terms of indirect finding, and then the make whole opportunity comes at the end of that process. So we're very hopeful at the very beginning of this. I should say we do this for all complaints, by the way. We start first and trying to resolve them through mediation and reconciliation at that point in time. And so we're no different to this case going forward as far as these claims are concerned. So we're hopeful to get that done in short order. Let me also say to you then that this is, as several of our elected officials have said to our employers out there, this is the floor. This is not the ceiling. And so we hope then that persons understand clearly they can do a lot more than what the minimum is in terms of, again, rewarding and ensuring the employees get a fair wage for a fair amount of work. And so, again, we're making sure that my name again is Jim Stowe. Please, you know that you have access to me directly. And as always, whether you take it or not, I'm going to give you my phone number. I'll give my phone number directly so you know how to get in contact with me. It is 240-888-5502, 240-888-5502. That's my direct line. It's available to me 24/7. To you 24/7. Please keep that in mind, folks. Thank you so much.
And now we're honored to be joined by Mr. Elrich Strong, who is a UFCW member and a part-time meat clerk at Giant and Rockville, who's going to share his thoughts about life.
Good afternoon, for everybody that's here. Truly, I am thankful for being a member of Resident here in Rockville. It's been a blessing to know that to go to $15 an hour is good. The members that I talk to that I work with, they're excited, they are thankful, and I want to thank all those that have everything to do with that to make this possible. I appreciate it, and they appreciate it too.
Thank you very much, Mr. Strong. So we have a number of our leaders in the union community who are going to come up and speak and talk about this effort and other efforts to move forward with fairness for the workers of our community and region. We're going to start with Deanna Forrester, who's president of the Washington Metro Labor Council.
Okay, good. I knew I was speaking. I know I had so many wonderful people before me, including one of my members of W. I was first asked to participate in this, I was like, look, I got stuff on the budget, barely UI's about to be cut. I can't make it to a home to celebrate. But that's what we do, fight. We're constantly fighting. Don't take the time to celebrate. So it's good to be in the room with so many people that were a part of making that sausage. And Marc said that, I was like, this is why I hate sausage. Because it's the fact. That's all of the stuff that we have to go through to get to the point to get to celebrate, right? And I think back to when the pandemic first started, and I was the political director of UFCW. I was elected last July, or June, a year ago, as the president of the Metro Washington Labor Council. And I remember us having to fight to have grocery store workers included as essential workers. And I thought about it myself. I didn't even think that grocery store workers were essential workers. But then as my daughter was staying home from school and I became a lunch lady and restaurants were closing down, I needed the grocery store workers just as much as I needed the police officers, and I needed the trash truck man. I mean, we became best friends. I was out there every Friday. Thank you. Do you need anything? I know it's a lot of trash. It's like kids in this house. Because my sister's a nurse and I had kids in my home. But I say that because I want us to remember when Mark, when you said what's next is not cutting unemployment benefits for people that are not going to return. I don't know how to celebrate July 4th this year when I know there's so many people that are going to be hurting because they're not going back to work anytime soon. But yet, Maryland's governor said we need to cut these benefits because if we don't, they'll never come back to work. So with that being said, I'm going to celebrate. And I know with the leadership in the state and on the council that we are going to figure out what's next to protect these workers that have made it easy for us to provide for our families. It's not over. It may be over for some, but some will not be in a better place for at least 2 to 3 more years. So it's our responsibility to not only call them heroes and not lift them up when it's a pandemic, but make sure as we legislate and as we lead that we're lifting them up. So thank you, and I'm going to let the union leaders that represent those workers come after me and share their personal stories of what they're experiencing. So thank you.
The irony, 1 decade later, Virginia is not cutting unemployment. Maryland did. So here are some of the people who are going to try to make sure that doesn't happen and who've been leading the fight in fairness. We're going to hear next from Jaime Contreras, who's Vice President of SEIU 32BJ.
The good thing about coming up to Diana and so many good speakers is you don't have a whole lot to say. So first, 32BJ and SEIU has been part of the Fight for 15, along with many of you here in the room, international unions as well. 6 continents, 190 cities, over 190 cities in over 33 countries. That's the effort that this Fight for 15 is about around the world. So it's changed the lives of millions of people, including our members who clean and secure offices in the county. Airport workers in Virginia and Maryland, but also their families. Their families are not lucky to have unions to raise their wages and raise standards for them. So their family members have benefited greatly from this. So, I wouldn't say, Marcus, I know we're short on time, and I know there's a bunch of other folks that are still going to come up and speak, but I would say, that we can, we should, and we will do more. So when I say we can, I want you to say do more. We can do more. We can do more. Because when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Bella Hall, who is the political coordinator for 1199.
Thank you, Rich. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm really proud to be here with all of you and represent the workers of 1199. We stand with the community advocates and the union organizers and elected officials who work hard to make this day a reality for so many of our frontline caregivers who, as Councilmember Tucker mentioned and others have mentioned, have been, continuing to be dedicated and provide quality care for our communities most vulnerable to some of the long-term care facilities and healthcare facilities throughout this county. Some workers, suffered through contracting the virus, COVID-19. Some of them saw their coworkers suffer through being on ventilators in the hospitals where they work and seeing them suffer through that. Some of them lost their lives and lost their loved ones to this virus. The pandemic was unrelenting, and these folks did their jobs, worked every day without receiving any kind of hazard pay or just compensation for their efforts, and this is unacceptable. So, this raising of the minimum wage to $15 is certainly a moment that has to, be recognized. It's been a long time coming, not only for our workers on the front lines, but for so many of the low wage workers throughout the county and the state
But we look forward to a future where a living wage is not something that has to be fought so hard for.
Yeah.
And we know that with the elected leadership we have here, with all the advocates and the leaders that we have in our community here, we want Montgomery County to continue to lead. We know that you will continue to lead, and we want to make sure that our workers are in that fight with you, and we won't stop until we get a living wage for all of our workers. And I just want to add a personal note too. You know, it's been brought up a few times here. I was not a part of the fight here in Montgomery County when this was passed. I was actually working for SEIU in Virginia. We were just getting started on our fight to pass a $15 minimum wage in Fairfax County. And I was looking to what the conversations were like and some of the activism that was happening here. So I could kind of take notes and try to translate that so that we could get things done in Virginia. And it seems like they've got things going, and we want to make sure that we continue to keep things going. So with that, I'll stop and I'll say that the fight never stops. We're not going to stop fighting in our work. Thank you.
So as Mr. Hall spoke about, many people in this community work dangerous jobs, not get hazard pay, even though they were working essential jobs. We in Montgomery County continue to make sure our essential workers got a pay differential. It was probably higher, lasted longer than most other communities. The county executive and the county council to make it happen. And is the leadership of the GEO, our partners, one of our partners in the county with IFF and the FOP. So it's my pleasure to introduce Amy Millar, who's the special assistant to the president of McGeo.
Hello, Local 1994 is so proud to have been part of this fight for 15, and we're equally proud that Montgomery County was the first in the state to pass this legislation. We know what's said out there, that minimum wage is for teenagers, it's for folks starting out. We also know that that's bull. I say bull something else, but I won't. These are adults, they're single moms, they're disproportionately people of color, and you know what? They're the very people that we depended on to get through this pandemic. So the folks that we called essential, the folks that we called heroes, so many of those folks are affected by this legislation. You know, the increase is just not about the disparity in income. It's going to address civil rights issues, healthcare disparities, issues of childhood hunger, poverty. We know, and I won't relay studies that show over and over that when we pay low-wage workers a living wage, that doesn't just benefit those workers, it spurs the economy. Those folks spend that money. So this is going to help us, you know, address that pay gap between workers of color and white colleagues. It's going to help with healthcare access and also lower government spending for safety net programs, the ones that our members deliver in Montgomery County, because they see that need, and that's part of why they were so engaged with this fight. But many who come before me has said, you know, this fight is not over. The pandemic has just really laid bare the disparity between those who have to risk their lives going into work, those essential workers, and those of us who could hunker down and protect our families from illness. And we know that this minimum wage increase is a crucial, important start, but it's definitely not enough. It's the first step, and you know what? I think we all should take a moment to celebrate this milestone today, and tomorrow we pick up that banner and keep fighting.
Next, we're going to hear from Pia Morrison, president of SEIU Local 500, represent many of the employees of Montgomery County Public Schools and their efforts to fight to make sure they have fair wages for themselves and for the community. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. It's great to be here with you today. As Rich just said, my name is Pia Morrison. I'm president of SEIU Local 500, which represents approximately 20,000 working people in Montgomery County and across the region. Today represents a great step forward for the working people of Montgomery County. For far too long, the wages of the workers in the least well-compensated professions have remained flat, even as productivity and profits have soared for decades. This is a national problem that has ignited debates from coast to coast about the dignity of work and the future of the economy. Fortunately, Montgomery County is once again ahead of the curve and is raising the minimum wage to a more dignified $15 an hour. Thank you to the workers, the activists, the policy experts, and the elected officials whose hard work and dedication have led us to this pivotal moment. Today is the culmination of your shared efforts, and thanks to you, hard work is receiving hard-earned respect and recognition. While today we celebrate this milestone, we must also remember the work that remains to be done to combat extreme wealth and income inequality here and across the country. Let us think of today not as the end of the race, but as the starting line. And let us move forward together to bring fairness, dignity, and justice to all working people. Thank you very much.
Now we're going to hear from Josh Halperin, who's an 8th grade teacher who's here representing the Montgomery County Education Association and their role in this coalition on justice and
Hi, everybody. So my name is Josh Halperin. I teach 8th grade U.S. history at Eastern Middle School, not too far away from here. It's a great place. I've been there I've spent about 8 years in that Eastern community. If there's anything that I've learned and been impressed by, it is how hard the families that we work with work to make sure that our students, our kids get a great education and are able to succeed and be a part of our Montgomery County community. Doing this, raising this minimum wage, is a milestone in making sure that we treat all people here with dignity and respect. If there's anything that we've learned over the last year, it's that school is so much more than the walls of our building and the grounds that we teach on and work on. It goes into our communities, and if you thought it was hard, having your kids on Zoom when you're home with them, imagine doing that while also trying to work. Imagine being 14 years old and trying to get through algebra online while taking care of siblings at home because you're home alone with them. And so doing this work, making sure that we are creating opportunities for people to succeed and moving further in creating successful conditions for people means that the families are able to support their students, because we know that working conditions are learning conditions in every sense of the word, and we want to make sure that that continues. So MCA is proud to be part of this fight. We know that this also affects our education support professionals and our brothers and sisters in Local 500. We could not have gotten through this past year without the support staff and the members of SEIU Local 500. My para saves my life all the time. I'm trying to spend the day with a building service worker in Montgomery County Public Schools, and you are going to learn a lot about dignity and respect and about where dollars go. So please, we are so thankful for this. This is the first step in a huge fight, and we're proud to be part of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you to all of our labor leaders who joined us today. Now we're going to hear the voice of the business community. And we're honored to have Steve Nash, who's the founder and CEO of Mom's Organic Market. Woo!
I have a great jump shot, but my name is Scott. I've done it all. That happens all the time. It's because of my jump shot. So I'm a CEO. I have discovered that I'm a token CEO. How many of my friends are in my position? The things I fight for are this and raising taxes on me and my friends. And there aren't many of us out there. I have 1,500 employees. Montgomery County really is a tip of the spear. I just moved into DC, but we're headquartered here. I used to live in Bethesda. When Montgomery County raised the minimum wage 15, we have stores, we have 21 stores from Dobbs Ferry, New York, down to Woodbridge, Virginia, and we're putting a few in Boston, more up in the Northeast. We raised our minimum wage across the country, not just here. When we raised, when we raise our minimum wage, the competitors notice too, by the way. You know, when we go to 15, other grocers, independent, everybody, they start to lose their employees to us. And so it impacts, there's a competitive market. So when you guys make us do it, you know, other people have to keep up. And so it's not just Montgomery County, it's not just the borders of Montgomery County where wages are going up, it's the ones that are nearby. So, you know, I have a lot of employees, I've had a lot of employees, and I discovered long ago, probably 20 years ago, that if people are stressed at home, they're stressed at work, they're not good. You know, they don't turn off a switch when they want out of our doors or into our doors. If they're stressed at home, the story we heard earlier about the hot water heater, you know, they have their mind elsewhere. So we believe that a higher minimum wage makes for a better employee. Stress. You know, and then there's the nuts and bolts of it, you know, I mean, paying higher wages in general. I really strongly invest in employees. Get higher retention. It's smart for business. I make more money. I'll be honest. Like paying more money makes me more money to my employees. Training costs go down as people stay longer. Morale goes up, and my employees are better, so my customers appreciate that. I'm training people all the time. They're in a better mood. My business is a very strong business because of the higher wages that we pay everybody, not just across executives of the company. So